The Hornets are not going to take Scoot.
Smokescreen.
They're not going to take him, man. There's no way.
You can't work out both.
They're overthinking this.
Can you work out both Scoot and Brandon Miller and then come back around, have it leak that Scoot had a way better workout and then not take Scoot?
Well, apparently. They're drafting for fit. They won't draft they won't draft a guy who plays the same position as their quote unquote best player.
So why not just trade? Why not just trade him and just get an extra assets, right?
Because
or
I
trade
think
the
that
pick and just swap.
you like Miller's fit with Ball more than you do Scoot.
I mean, I just find it silly all around just because, I mean, there's a history. Let me bring this up here. The second overall picks in the history of the NBA. Have you ever taken a look at that?
No,
it's actually like a cursed
Durant.
No. Durant is like the best.
Olajuwon was a second. No, Olajuwon was first. Bowie was second. I'm trying to think who else just off the top of my head.
No. But I'm saying here's what I'm saying, right? The NBA has a history of outside of Kevin Durant. Let's just go through this list here.
Okay. Oh, you're saying it's the other way.
It's the other way. And this might lead to some very interesting things where I'm like, you have to take Scoot. You have to take Scoot. And then they don't. So let's go through this. So last year, Chet Holmgren.
Listen.
The jury's still out, but my guy got hurt right away.
You know where I stand with this Thunder team.
Okay. Jalen Green. Okay, we'll let that slide. James Wiseman. Ja Morant. I mean, Ja Morant's got his own situation. Right
even
now.
Zion is above him, right? And he's got a little bit of.
Okay, so where are we at? 2018, Marvin Bagley III. Trash. Lonzo Ball, 2017. Trash. Brandon Ingram, 2016. We'll get that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell will forever be labeled as a snitch as. He's 2015. No. Jabari Parker, 2014. Victor Oladipo, 2013. No, you cannot say Victor Oladipo is a good.
I'm not going to say he's a bust at all. I mean, he bad injury luck. He was definitely I would say he's probably the best up there of like one of the best players of that class.
Still trash. 2012, Michael Kidd Gilchrist.
Couldn't shoot.
2011,
when you're playing basketball, you can't shoot.
2011, Derek Williams.
Oh, that's a bad one.
2010, Evan Turner. Not good. 2009, Hasheem Thabeet.
That's a bad one. That's much worse than Evan Turner.
So yeah, I mean, then you're getting
Evan
into
Turner
Michael
got a couple of bags, you know.
Man, that's rough. I didn't realize it was that bad.
So all I'm saying is the hit rate on the number 1 and number 3 spot. I wish I wrote down this stat, but there's a hit rate on the number on all NBA on win shares between the number 1 and the number 3, and for some reason number 2 drops way down.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but maybe it's because normally, and this is just a theory, there's a consensus number 1, right? And then number 2, you actually have to make a decision here, right? But then number 3, it's like you're just getting who the number 2 person didn't pick. There's like less room for all these guys that think they're the smartest guy in the room to basically fuck it up. Like we're seeing with this draft right here.
I think we're going to see the Hornets fuck it up.
And hey, listen, those
Brandon
guys know
Miller's
more
a good
than
ball
me.
player. Brandon Miller's a good ball player. Let's not mix that up. He can play. I know he's got some things in his past, some things that happened this past season that aren't great, a lot of character issues or whatever, but he can ball. Now, is he Scoot? We don't know, but I'm just saying I think that decision between Miller and Scoot is a little bit closer than we're putting it on because we like Scoot so much.
Do you guys think that obviously with, sports and come draft time and off season time, there's always like a recency bias, like whatever the latest news is kind of could affect how teams operate. Do you think the John Moran stuff will scare teams off of a Brandon Miller? Like, I think that there's a chance that can happen, right? Because it's kind of similar. They're both extremely talented and both just have like, they're not like, I don't know. The Brandon Miller story is crazy. Like, it's hard to say that they're not bad people, but like, there's still some off court stuff that you might have some questions about. Right. And that might be the difference if they're kind of tied in talent and they're graded similarly on these boards. So I don't know. I think for that reason, I think it's probably Scoot too. I think I'm with Shell on this.
The tough part is because Scoot didn't have as good of a second year in the G League. And partly people think it was just because, he had to stay in the G League before going to the league. But if like there's still something to work for, like you were already going to be a top pick in the NBA draft. And this is not good, but it's the G League. It's not like you're playing for an NCAA title or something like that, which is a little bit different. But to me, the pedigree of Scoot Henderson, who, was working out daily. I think I saw an interview with CJ McCollum talking about being in New York and going in for a workout. And that gym that you always see them working out in New York, I think like the Hoodie Mellow gym is what I'll call it. Because I feel like that's what we've always seen. But CJ McCollum was talking about going into that gym and working out in the off season. And he came in a couple of years ago and he's like, wait, who's that kid? And it was Scoot Henderson working out with Rod Strickland. And if there's a point guard for you to be tutored by or mentored by in terms of old school basketball, I mean, Rod Strickland, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. I just like pedigree. I like a guy when you see those highlights, you see that my guy gets busy, you see that he wants to smoke, and I don't know, he doesn't allegedly drive weapons to his friend to commit murder, allegedly. There's just too much that makes this too easy. Like, why am I not like this league? What happens in the NBA? They focus on what you're not as opposed to what you are. And Kevin O'Connor, who I will never rep in terms of his draft prognostications, in terms of who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. He keeps saying that Brandon Miller can shoot at 6'10", and you'd rather have someone who can shoot at 6'10" than someone who is like 6'3". And while I understand that logic, that's how Steph Curry dropped to like 9. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how like you talk yourselves out of all these things of basketball players who can just do stuff like Scoot Henderson, and you talk yourself out of that just because a guy like Stromile Swift, who shouts to Stromile Swift, number 2 pick in 2000, right? It's just, I don't know. It's how Darko ends up going ahead of Carmelo, right? Like it's just weird.
But that was more fit. I mean, that was more fit than anything.
But that's Darko the same situation we're in right now.
But it was also, too, the workout. And I think that, I mean, we could talk about Yiji Lan having an amazing workout against a chair, right? So you could tell me all about the Scoot Henderson workouts in the Hoodie Mellow gym all you want. But the fact is, when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets brass, they're going to see a guy who's 6'10", who can shoot, who can play with LaMelo Ball, rather than somebody who's a redundancy to what Ball already is on paper. Now, you and I, Shelly, and I'm sure Tony is too, I'm against drafting for fit, no matter where you are on the draft board. I think you should be drafting the best player that you have on your board. Now, I don't know if the Hornets have Miller above Scoot on their draft board, but it seems like that their decision-making is going for fit rather than who's the best player. Then the other thing is we've got a lot. I mean, the G League is the G League. What Alabama did and what Brandon Miller was able to do this year was televised. I mean, they put those games on TV. Now, for better or worse, because we know we had some ups and some downs, especially in the tournament, but this kid's performance was on television on the biggest stages and not necessarily in G League games where nobody's watching.